All right, so picture this. You're sitting in your financial advisor's office, and she's showing you one of those retirement calculators. You plug in your age, your current savings, your expected Social Security, and the number that pops up says you need to work until you're 78 to retire with any kind of security. You look at that number and think, I can barely make it to Friday. How am I supposed to make it to 78? Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so.
Look, here's the truth that financial planners don't want to tell you. We're all obsessed with these arbitrary retirement numbers. You need $1 million. You need 25 times your annual expenses. You need enough to buy a yacht and a villa in Tuscany. But here's what nobody's explaining. Retirement security isn't about hitting one magic number at the end. It's about crossing specific dollar thresholds where the mathematics of compound interest fundamentally changes what's possible. Today, we're breaking down the 5 critical net worth milestones that transform your retirement trajectory, not some feel-good advice about believing in yourself and cutting back on Starbucks. We're talking about the actual inflection points where your money stops working like a tired employee and starts working like an absolute machine. These are the moments where compound interest goes from being this abstract concept you learned about in high school to being a real force that generates more money in a year than you can save from your paycheck. And yes, this matters even if you're starting late, even if you're behind, even if you're reading this and thinking it's too late. Milestone 1, $50,000. I know what you're thinking. $50,000, that's it? That doesn't even sound like retirement money. But stay with me, because this milestone is way more important than it sounds, especially if you're approaching retirement age without much saved. Here's the thing about $50,000. It's the psychological breakthrough. It's proof to yourself that you can actually build wealth, that this retirement thing isn't just for people who started at 25 or inherited money from their parents. Let's run the math. You've got $50,000 invested in a diversified portfolio. The market gives you average returns of around 8% annually. That's $4,000 in growth your first year. $4,000 that appeared in your account just because your money existed. Now, I can already hear you. $4,000 over a year, that's $333 a month. That's not life-changing. You're right, it's not. But here's what matters. For the first time in your financial life, your investments are generating meaningful money without you doing anything. You didn't work overtime for it. You didn't sell anything. You didn't take a second job. The market just gave it to you. And if you're contributing, say, $500 a month to this account, the market is now contributing 67% of what you're contributing. Your money is finally starting to pull its weight. Most people never get here. They start saving at 55, see their account hit $20,000 or $30,000, watch it drop during a market correction, and think, what's even the point? I'll never catch up. So they stop, they cash out, they give up. Don't be most people. Get to $50,000, because this is where compound interest stops being theory and starts being tangible. You can see it happening. You can feel it working. And that psychological shift is everything.
Milestone 2, $150,000. All right, so you pushed through. You hit $50,000, you kept going, and now you're sitting at $150,000. Congratulations, you've just crossed into territory where things start moving faster than you ever thought possible. At $150,000, earning 8% annually, you're generating $12,000 per year in market returns. That's $1,000 every single month showing up in your account from growth alone. Think about that for a second. If you're still contributing $750 a month from your paycheck, the market is now contributing $1,000. Your money is officially working harder than you are. You've hired an employee, and that employee is outperforming you. But here's where it gets genuinely wild. Let's say you're 58 years old with $150,000 saved. You've got maybe 7 to 9 years left before traditional retirement age, and you're panicking because you know you need way more than this. But watch what happens. If you keep contributing $750 a month and the market keeps giving you 8% average returns, in 7 years you're not at $213,000, you're at $280,000. In 9 years, you're at $340,000. The gap between your contributions and what the market adds gets bigger every single year. By year 5, the market is adding twice what you're contributing. By year 7, it's adding 3 times more. Your money has become a compounding machine. And here's the psychological shift that happens at this milestone. You stop being scared of market volatility. When you had $30,000 and the market dropped 15%, you lost $4,500, and that felt catastrophic. But at $150,000, a 15% drop is $22,500, which sounds horrible, except you've probably already made more than that in gains getting to this point. You've been through enough market cycles to know the pattern. It drops, it recovers, it grows. You're not panicking anymore, you're strategic. You might even see the drop as an opportunity to buy more shares at a discount. Milestone 3, $300,000. This is the milestone where everything changes. At $300,000, you're not just building security, you're building options, real, meaningful options that weren't available to you before. With $300,000 invested at 8% average annual returns, you're generating $24,000 per year in growth. That's $2,000 every month without lifting a finger. Your money is now generating what looks like a part-time salary just by existing. But here's what really matters at this level, especially for people in their late 50s or early 60s. You can actually start planning early retirement. Using the updated safe withdrawal rates for 2026, which research from Morningstar suggests is around 3.9% for conservative portfolios, you could pull about $11,700 per year from $300,000 without depleting your principal. That's not enough to live on by itself, obviously, but combine that with Social Security, which might be $20,000 to $30,000 annually, depending on your work history, and you're looking at $31,700 to $41,700 per year. That's not wealthy, but it's dignified. It's enough to retire at 63 or 64 instead of working until 67 or 70. It's enough to take a lower-stress part-time job doing something you actually enjoy instead of grinding at the career that's been killing you for decades. And if you don't want to retire early, cool. At $300,000, you've got leverage. You can tell your boss that mandatory weekend shifts aren't going to work for you anymore. You can take career risks you couldn't take before because you've got this financial cushion backing you up. This is also where you need to get serious about catch-up contributions if you haven't already. If you're 50 or older in 2026, you can contribute $32,500 to your 401k instead of the standard $24,500. That's an extra $8,000 per year. And if you're between 60 and 63, you can do even better with the super catch-up contributions of $35,750 total. For IRAs, you can contribute $8,600 instead of $7,500. These catch-up rules exist specifically for people like you who are approaching retirement and need to accelerate their savings. Use them.
Milestone 4, $500,000. $500,000. This is where you cross over from, I hope retirement works out, to, I'm actually going to be okay. At $500,000, earning 8% annually, you're generating $40,000 per year in market growth. That's a full-time salary appearing in your account every year without you doing anything except not panicking during market downturns. Let's talk withdrawal rates. At $500,000, using a 3.9% safe withdrawal rate, you can pull $19,500 per year. Using the slightly more aggressive 4.7% rate that the creator of the original 4% rule now suggests is reasonable with proper portfolio allocation, you're looking at $23,500 annually. Add Social Security on top, another $20,000 to $30,000 per year for most people, and you're living on $39,500 to $53,500 in retirement. That's median household income in America. You're not eating ramen in a studio apartment. You're living with actual dignity. But here's what's truly incredible about this milestone. If you hit $500,000 at age 62 and you decide to work just 3 more years until 65 while still contributing even modestly and letting the market do its thing, you could easily be at $650,000 to $700,000 by retirement. And those extra $150,000 to $200,000, that's travel money. That's help your grandkids with college money. That's financial breathing room. This is also where you need to start thinking seriously about healthcare costs. If you retire before 65, you're not eligible for Medicare yet, and private health insurance can cost $1,500 to $3,000 per month for a couple, depending on your state. At $500,000, you've got enough cushion to handle that gap without destroying your retirement plan. And here's the tax piece nobody talks about. At this level of wealth, tax optimization becomes genuinely important. If you've been putting everything in traditional 401k accounts, you might want to start doing Roth conversions during low-income years to avoid massive tax bills in retirement when required minimum distributions kick in. If you're earning more than $150,000 in 2025, there's a new rule for 2026. All your catch-up contributions have to go into Roth accounts instead of traditional pre-tax accounts. You lose the upfront tax deduction, but your withdrawals in retirement are tax-free. That might actually work in your favor if you expect taxes to be higher in the future. Milestone 5, $750,000 to $1 million. This is the finish line for most people. This is financial independence in its truest form. At $750,000, using a 3.9% safe withdrawal rate, you can pull $29,250 per year. At $1 million, you're looking at $39,000 annually. Add Social Security, another $25,000 to $35,000 per year for most people, and you're living on $54,250 to $74,000 in retirement. That's more than most Americans make while working. Except you're not working. You're doing whatever you want with your time. But here's what really separates this milestone from everything else: legacy and impact. At $750,000 to $1 million, you've got enough to retire comfortably, handle unexpected medical expenses, travel when you want, and still leave something behind for your kids or grandkids. You've broken the cycle of financial stress that probably defined your parents' retirement or your grandparents' retirement. That's not just money, that's generational change. And here's the part that sounds ridiculous but is mathematically accurate. At this level of wealth, your biggest problem becomes figuring out what to do with all the money your money keeps making. At $1 million generating 8% returns, that's $80,000 in annual growth. If you're only withdrawing $39,000 using the safe withdrawal rate, your net worth goes up in retirement. This is where people start getting into charitable giving, donor-advised funds, helping their communities because they genuinely have more money than they can personally spend. It's a weird problem to have, but it's a much better problem than wondering if you can afford groceries at 75.
Okay, so you're probably sitting there thinking, this is great, but I'm 55 with $80,000 saved. How does any of this help me? Here's the brutal, honest reality check you need. Starting late is infinitely better than never starting, and you've got more tools than you think. First, you're probably earning more now than you ever did in your 30s. That means you can save more aggressively. Second, you have access to catch-up contributions starting at age 50, which lets you put in way more than younger workers. Third, you can be strategic about when you retire. Let's run real numbers. You're 55 with $80,000 saved. You max out your 401k contributions with catch-ups, putting in $32,500 per year with catch-ups. At 60, you switch to super catch-up contributions if you're eligible, going up to $35,750 annually. You do this for 10 years until age 65.
If you earn 8% average annual returns, by age 65, you're looking at approximately $630,000 to $680,000. Is that $1 million? No, but using a 3.9% withdrawal rate, that's $24,570 to $26,520 per year from your portfolio. Add Social Security, another $20,000 to $28,000 annually, and you're looking at $44,570 to $54,520 in retirement income. You're not buying a yacht, but you're also not struggling. You've built a dignified retirement even though you started late. The key is aggressive action right now. Cut expenses ruthlessly. Kill the subscriptions you don't use. Downsize if your house is bigger than you need. Increase your income through side work, asking for raises, or changing jobs if you're underpaid. Every extra $5,000 you throw at retirement now becomes $10,800 in 10 years at 8% returns. That compounds. That matters. And here's the strategic move nobody talks about. You can adjust your retirement age. Working until 67 or 68 instead of 65 gives your portfolio 2 to 3 more years to grow, delays Social Security so your benefit is permanently higher, and shortens your retirement timeline so your money has to last fewer years. That's not giving up. That's being smart about the hand you've been dealt. These 5 milestones represent the roadmap to a retirement that doesn't terrify you. $50,000 proves you can do this. $150,000 is where compound interest gets aggressive. $300,000 gives you real options, including early retirement. $500,000 makes retirement comfortable and dignified. And $750,000 to $1 million gives you true financial independence and the ability to leave a legacy. None of this is easy. If it were easy, everyone would be retiring as millionaires. But it is simple. Max out your contributions, especially catch-up contributions if you're eligible. Invest in low-cost index funds. Don't panic when the market drops. Don't touch the money, and be strategic about your retirement age. Give it time. And maybe, just maybe, you won't need to sit in that financial advisor's office watching a calculator tell you that you have to work until you're 78. Thanks for watching.